Wait, is buying this car secretly a massive mistake? Or like the smartest financial move you will ever make?
Well, it really depends on which version you drive off the lot and whether you actually understand the compromises Toyota made to hit that price point.
Right, because today we are taking a hard, honest look at the 2026 Toyota Corolla Cross. Look, I get it. The Corolla nameplate is basically automotive royalty.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is the gold standard for global reliability.
Yeah, but Toyota knows that.
Yeah.
And they are totally banking on the fact that millions of buyers will blindly finance this lifted hatchback just because of the badge on the grille.
Yeah. And that tension is really the core of this vehicle's identity. On paper, it is a subcompact crossover promising the bulletproof durability of a Corolla.
Mixed with the elevated stance of a sport utility vehicle.
Right. But when you look at the mechanical engineering under the skin and run the brutal math on the upper trim levels.
Oh, that gets rough.
Really rough. And when you listen to what mechanics are actually seeing in their service bays, the glossy marketing narrative just falls apart fast.
So let us jump right into the powertrain because this is where the illusion cracks first. You walk onto a dealer lot, you buy the standard gas model.
Right, and under the hood, you are staring at a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine making 169 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque.
And that power goes to the front wheels or like an optional mechanical all-wheel drive system through a continuously variable transmission.
And, I mean, on paper, it sounds adequate for a commuter car, but in reality...
Oh, it is agonizing. The word adequate is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah, the primary culprit for the terrible driving dynamics is not necessarily the low horsepower. It is how that continuously variable transmission manages it.
Right, because a traditional automatic transmission shifts through physical gears.
Mm-hmm.
It builds up the engine revolutions, shifts, and drops the engine speed back down. It feels, natural.
But a continuously variable transmission just uses a steel belt and 2 adjustable pulleys.
And because this 2-liter engine has virtually no low-end torque, the moment you try to merge onto a highway, the transmission just slams the engine to 5,000 revolutions per minute.
And just holds it there.
Yes. It is like riding a single-speed bicycle up a steep hill where your legs have to pedal at a frantic, exhausting pace just to keep moving forward.
It is awful, and that constant droning engine speed creates a terrible acoustic environment in the cabin.
It's so loud.
Because the vehicle has very little sound-deadening material in the firewall to insulate you from the engine bay. Toyota engineered this specific powertrain purely for thermal efficiency and fuel economy.
They entirely sacrificed refinement. It sounds like a struggling kitchen blender making a smoothie out of rocks.
That is a perfect way to describe it. It is built to get you from point A to point B cheaply, not comfortably.
But here is the catch. Toyota knows the gas engine sounds miserable, so they offer a solution with a hybrid version.
And honestly, it feels like they intentionally made the gas version miserable just to upsell you on the hybrid. I mean, the contrast is staggering.
Totally. The hybrid utilizes the exact same 2-liter combustion engine, but it completely overhauls the drivetrain architecture by adding 3 electric motors.
Which bumps the total output to 196 horsepower. But the raw horsepower number does not tell the whole story.
No, it is the instant torque. The 0 to 60 miles per hour time drops to a brisk 7.3 seconds.
7.3 seconds in a Corolla Cross actually gives you enough confidence to pass a semi-truck without saying a quick prayer first.
Right. You press the pedal, and the electric motors provide immediate thrust right off the line. You don't have to wait for the gas engine to scream its way up the tachometer.
Furthermore, the hybrid setup changes how the car achieves all-wheel drive. In the gas model, a heavy mechanical drive shaft runs the entire length of the car.
Just to send power to the rear wheels.
Right. But the hybrid eliminates that mechanical link entirely. Instead, you have a dedicated high-voltage electric motor sitting directly on the rear axle.
So when the car's computer detects the front wheels slipping, it instantly sends electricity to that rear motor.
Exactly. It is lighter, it reacts in milliseconds, and it transforms the vehicle into a highly efficient urban commuter, getting an estimated 42 miles per gallon combined.
42 miles per gallon with all-wheel drive is absurdly good. Logically, any sane buyer looks at that and thinks, great, the hybrid is vastly superior. I will just buy the hybrid.
But we need to talk about the value trap. Because if you are not careful, the math on this car will absolutely ruin you.
Oh, for sure. The baseline economics of the entry-level models are undeniably strong, right? A base model starts around $25,000.
Yes, and data over a 10-year period shows estimated maintenance costs at a remarkably low $8,460.
Plus, the vehicle retains over 70% of its value over 5 years. So if you view a car purely as a depreciating appliance, the base model is a masterclass in financial responsibility.
Sure, but let us be real. Nobody buys the base model.
Never. You walk into the showroom, the dealer walks you past the base model with its tiny wheels and cloth seats, and they show you the shiny screens.
The heated steering wheel, the premium paint, you start climbing that trim ladder fast.
And suddenly, you're staring at the window sticker for a fully loaded hybrid XSE, and the price tag is sitting at $38,000.
You are paying $38,000 for a subcompact economy platform. The financial logic just evaporates at that price point.
It is absolute madness. Why on earth would someone drop 38 grand on a lifted Corolla when that exact same money puts you squarely in the middle of the RAV4 lineup?
Exactly. The RAV4 is built on a larger, more sophisticated chassis. It has significantly more cargo volume, wider seats, and more road presence.
By the way, if you want more car reviews and comparisons to help you figure out the RAV4 versus Corolla Cross debate, make sure to subscribe to our second channel. The link is right down in the description.
It really is a brilliant psychological trap engineered by automakers, though. Buyers get hyper-focused on securing the highest possible trim level.
They would rather have the top-tier version of a compromised smaller vehicle than the mid-tier version of a fundamentally superior larger vehicle.
Yeah, and this pricing absurdity reveals something much deeper about American car culture. Buyers are happily overpaying just for the illusion of ruggedness.
The crossover craze is entirely built on aesthetics and the perception of capability. You're getting 8.1 inches of ground clearance and a slightly elevated seating position.
But functionally, the interior cabin space is not much larger than a traditional compact hatchback.
You are paying thousands of dollars extra for a couple of inches of ride height and some chunky black plastic cladding around the wheel wells to make it look like you might go camping once a year.
If you look at Europe or Japan, buyers are perfectly happy driving the standard Corolla hatchback or the Urus Cross.
But in America, we're so addicted to visual bulk that we will finance a $38,000 optical illusion.
And you are paying top dollar for that elevated, rugged SUV look on the outside. But once you open the door and sit down inside the cabin, that premium illusion shatters instantly.
Oh man, it is an ocean of hard, hollow plastics.
Yeah.
You tap on the door panels or the center console, and it echoes.
The headliner on the roof literally feels like a cheap bath mat you would buy at a discount dollar store.
And the ergonomics can be baffling. The center console cup holders are improperly sized for standard American cups.
Yeah, if you put a normal coffee cup in there, it rattles around every time you hit the brakes.
Toyota tried to distract buyers in 2026 by slapping in fancy new 10.5-inch touchscreens and 12.3-inch digital gauge clusters.
But throwing giant screens into a cabin does not hide the fact that your elbows are resting on industrial-grade plastic.
The tactile experience is built to a strict budget. But it goes beyond just cheap materials. We found alarming complaints regarding actual build quality and mechanical failures.
The Reddit horror stories are wild. We are not talking about a rattle in the dashboard here.
Right, so what is the most severe failure mechanics are seeing?
There is a highly documented case of an owner whose brand new model suffered a catastrophic all-wheel drive and drive stop control malfunction.
Wait, what did that actually do to the car?
The vehicle's computer completely locked out the transmission, preventing the car from engaging reverse gear.
And this wasn't after 100,000 miles of hard driving, right?
No, this happened after exactly 270 miles on the odometer.
270 miles. The factory plastic is probably still in the passenger seat, and the transmission forgets how to go backward.
Obviously, early production runs have teething issues, but that points to severe software and module communication failures.
And the physical structure of the vehicle has its own bizarre issues, right?
Yes, multiple owners in colder climates have reported their roofs literally collapsing and denting under a light snowfall.
Wait, a light snowfall? The metal is caving in from a few inches of snow. How is that even physically possible on a modern car that has to pass federal rollover crash tests?
Well, it is a combination of thermal deformation and cost-cutting on structural cross-bracing. The internal safety cage of the vehicle is incredibly strong to survive a crash.
Okay, so the cage is fine, but the skin is the problem.
Exactly. The external sheet metal of the roof skin is extremely thin to reduce weight and lower the center of gravity. Underneath that thin sheet metal, Toyota spaced out the structural crossbows to save manufacturing costs.
Oh, I see. So when the temperature drops rapidly, the thin metal contracts.
Combine that thermal contraction with the slight weight of wet snow, and the metal simply oil cans. It pops inward like a cheap baking sheet in a hot oven.
That is deeply embarrassing for a company that prides itself on legendary build quality. And it is not just the roof. The panel gaps coming out of the assembly plant in Alabama are massive.
Owners are pulling out calipers and measuring 6 to 7 millimeter body gaps between the doors and the fenders.
6 to 7 millimeters indicates a serious lack of precision in the automated stamping and assembly process.
But perhaps the most noticeable cost-cutting measure is how the car physically interacts with the road. We need to discuss the suspension geometry.
Specifically, the rear suspension on the gas models. We all know Toyota went with a torsion beam rear suspension on the front-wheel drive gas models.
It is the oldest trick in the book for economy cars. It is cheap to manufacture, it takes up a very little vertical space so you get a deeper trunk, and it has very few moving parts.
But the trade-off is brutal for highway stability.
The physics of a torsion beam are inherently compromised. You have a solid, twisting metal beam physically connecting the left rear wheel to the right rear wheel.
So because they are mechanically linked, when your left rear tire hits a pothole, the impact force directly travels across that beam.
And it disrupts the contact patch of the right rear tire.
Which means when you are cruising at 75 to 80 miles per hour on the freeway and you hit an expansion joint on a curved off-ramp, the entire back end of the car feels loose and skittery.
It literally hops sideways. It is nerve-wracking.
Exactly. It creates an unsettling kinematic transfer of energy. However, this is another reason why the hybrid model is mechanically superior.
Right. To accommodate the rear electric motor for the all-wheel drive system, Toyota was forced to abandon the torsion beam.
So the hybrid models get a sophisticated, independent, multi-link rear suspension.
Each rear wheel can react to bumps completely independently, isolating the chassis from the impact. It totally eliminates that skittery feeling and vastly improves ride refinement.
So the narrative is clear. The upper trims are a financial ripoff, the gas models handle terribly on the highway, and the interior feels cheap.
Naturally, a smart buyer might think they will just let someone else take the depreciation hit and hunt down a lightly used hybrid SE model on the secondhand market.
But doing that introduces a massive hidden vulnerability that genuinely blew my mind.
Buying a used vehicle always carries risk, but with highly sought-after, reliable commuter cars like this, we are seeing a massive spike in digital odometer fraud.
Wait, hold on. It is 2026? Every Corolla Cross has a fully digital dashboard display. You cannot just reach behind the steering wheel and roll mechanical dials backward with a screwdriver.
You would think it is secure, right?
Yeah, how are scammers faking mileage on a fully computerized car? Why does the electronic control unit not just reject the tampered mileage? There should be some kind of cryptographic handshake between the modules.
Well, in high-end European luxury cars, there is a cryptographic handshake. If you swap a dashboard module, the immobilizer steps in and the car refuses to start.
So what is Toyota doing differently?
Economy cars like the Corolla Cross often use older, less secure controller area network bus architectures to save money. The digital instrument cluster is essentially just a dumb terminal.
A monitor displaying whatever data it receives, or whatever data is hard-coded onto its specific memory chip.
Precisely. Scammers are just going to a salvage yard, pulling a digital gauge cluster out of a wrecked car that only had 10,000 miles on it, and plugging it into a car with 80,000 miles.
And the car just accepts it, just like that.
The scammer unplugs the old screen, plugs in the salvage screen, and instantly the dashboard reads 10,000 miles.
They wipe 50 or 60,000 miles off the car's perceived history in 10 minutes, instantly inflating the sale price by thousands of dollars.
This is genuinely terrifying for a used car buyer.
If the glowing numbers on the dashboard are lying to me, how do we play forensic investigator on a used car lot?
You have to look for the digital truth hidden deep in the car's architecture and the physical truth hidden in the wear and tear.
Okay, so digitally, where's the real number?
The true immutable mileage data is still stored deep within the primary engine electronic control unit. A qualified mechanic using an advanced bidirectional diagnostic scanner can bypass the dashboard and read the true mileage directly from the engine module.
So if the computer says the engine is run for 80,000 miles, but the dashboard says 20,000, you have caught the scam.
That is why you always demand a pre-purchase inspection from an independent mechanic with an expensive scanner.
But let's say I am just walking around the car on the dealer lot. What physical tells ward? Expose the lie before I even pay a mechanic.
Check the rubber. If the dashboard claims the car has under 20,000 miles, it should absolutely still be rolling on its original factory tires.
Look for the Department of Transportation date code stamped on the sidewall. It is a 4-digit number indicating the week and year the tire was manufactured.
Right, but I see where you're going. Could a highly motivated scammer not just jump on a marketplace and buy a set of used tires with the correct date code to complete the illusion?
They could, but scammers rely on volume and speed. They rarely go through that much effort, and even if they fake the tires, they cannot fake the interior touch points easily.
The steering wheel material on the Corolla Cross is notorious for degrading and peeling from the oils in human hands.
So you look closely at the brake pedal pad. If the odometer claims 15,000 miles, but the rubber grooves on the brake pedal are worn completely smooth, or the steering wheel leather is heavily degraded, the physical friction is telling you a truth that the digital screen is trying to hide.
Exactly. Trust the physical wear, not the glowing pixels.
Okay, we have ripped through the wheezy gas engines, the genuinely impressive hybrid engineering, the completely absurd trim pricing ladder, roofs collapsing under snow, and the digital odometer swindles.
It is time for a final ruling.
Right. If a buyer is standing in a Toyota dealership right now, checkbook in hand, what is the ultimate verdict? Which exact version do they buy, and which do they run away from?
The verdict is highly specific. The best version to buy, the only version that truly makes sense, is the hybrid SE trim.
Because it sits right in the sweet spot. You get the superior independent rear suspension that fixes the highway handling, you get the much faster hybrid powertrain with instant torque, and you achieve excellent fuel economy.
Most importantly, it keeps the purchase price low enough that you are not financially overlapping with the superior RAV4.
And the versions to avoid.
You must avoid the fully loaded hybrid XSE or the top-tier gas XLE models. The moment you push past $33,000, the value proposition completely collapses.
You are vastly overpaying for a compromised platform built on cheap interior plastics.
And for the person buying that hybrid SE, what is the biggest long-term ownership risk they need to be prepared for?
The most prominent risk involves the early build quality inconsistencies out of the Alabama plant. You must aggressively inspect the car on the lot for severe panel gaps before signing the paperwork.
Additionally, be prepared for software gremlins. The new infotainment screens look fantastic, but the underlying software can be glitchy, occasionally dropping Bluetooth connections or freezing up entirely.
It really is a fascinating study in compromises. It exposes exactly how much we are willing to forgive just to have a Toyota badge and a few extra inches of ground clearance.
Which leaves us with a final provocative question.
Is the American obsession with riding high actually worth paying thousands of dollars more for what is essentially a lifted, noisier economy hatchback? Let us know what you think down in the comments. Are we just getting scammed by black plastic wheel arches, or is the practicality actually worth the premium?
And for our international listeners, how does the Corolla Cross compare to the compact hatchbacks dominating the roads in Europe or Japan?
Let us know. We will catch you on the next one.